Now I am in Whangarei. It's a beautiful motel I'm staying tonight. Getting ready to go out. It's exciting. Motel Villa di Rio. It's a beautiful place. It was a long day for me, but now I'm excited because it's almost time to be going out. Our mission today is 3 of our public speakers who will be speaking. I'm going to be the first speaker, so I'm really looking forward to that. Stammering and laughing and all the things that goes with this. My first engagement since I published my book, 2012. My boyfriend is here with me today. He's my cameraman, Joseph.
Hello.
Hi, Han. And Bruce, the CEO of Body Positive. And the boys are all here looking forward to go. We're leaving in about 10 minutes. Manaya PHO is the location we're going to be going. We're having dinner before the speeches and meeting everybody else.
You look so pretty, honey.
Oh, thank you, darling. So I'm looking forward to my first speech since I published my book. I am just about to go in 10 minutes. And it's a pity that my children are in Australia and they're going to miss this, but I'm sure that when they see all this, they're going to say, Mom, you did well, and I'm hoping all the people that have supported me are going to be proud of me. So I'm a little bit nervous, but not that nervous. Just want to look perfect, because, you know, Whangarei has got beautiful people up north. The driving was just amazing. The scenery and everything we've seen. So I'm all ready to go.
Sophie had no idea what she was letting herself in for when she, as a heterosexual woman, put her hand up to speak out, because the most stigmatised and discriminated community I identify are the sub-Saharan African community. We have situations where you can have two people living with HIV in the same household, yet they won't disclose it to each other. And it's like serious alcoholics, where they run away to their squirreled pot of pills or alcohol medication, antiretrovirals, without the other knowing about it. And again, I explained to you this young Somali woman or African woman who wouldn't present our cheque because our name was on it. So you're meeting now Sophie, who's a very strong woman who's been prepared to come out and speak about this. Sophie, I'll probably spend as much time introducing you as I'm going to let you speak for, but come on.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
My name is Sophie Warden. I was born in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. I came to New Zealand in 1988, moved into Gisborne. I was very fresh. I was a real typical African woman. I had respect for everybody. I was looking forward to learn a lot of things. Kindly everybody loved me when I was in Gisborne. I was the loved daughter. All the Maoris brought their food and take me to their house, and they loved my 2 babies. I had a boy, so got him, he's 32, and I've got a 30-year-old daughter and a grandson who's 9. It was the best time of my life, you know, as an African kid who was very fortunate to leave Africa and come abroad. And I was looking forward to bring the other people here, because that's what Africans we do. When you succeed to go where there is better life, you bring another person. And unfortunately, that was just about to end in 1990 at Gisborne High School. During that time, as a pregnant woman, I was studying, and after school I'll go pick up my kids and cook and go and see the doctor, wear the maternal dress. I wasn't exposed to tights, because African women don't wear tights when you're pregnant. It doesn't look privileged. So I came home and I was really happy. 6 months later, I went to see my doctor, and I said to my doctor, I'm having swollen feet. And I said, oh, do a test on that. And that was fine with me. And about 2 weeks later, he called me at home and said, you're positive. And I said, oh, thank you very much, doctor, and I put my phone down. Positive in Africa, I went to British system. Positive means happy. It doesn't mean anything, it means you're good. So I put my phone down, and I waited for my husband and my children come from school. And I told my husband I was positive. My husband, who of course is a physics teacher, he was very educated, he's still a very educated man, he said, positive. Who did you talk to? I said, my doctor. I said, what did he say positive for? And I said, my pregnancy. So he put the phone down, he picked up the phone, called the doctor and said, what did he tell Sophie? And he told him something. My husband sat down and he said, Sophie, sit down. But I looked at him, my husband's fairer than me, because he's part Sri Lankan and Italian. So all of a sudden he went whiter and he had this funny look. It looked like someone has just drained his blood. And I sat down to him. He said, you know a disease that makes people skinny? If diarrhea, then die. I said, no. He said, you must have seen it on the television. They've been advertising this thing on the television. There is a disease that's killing a lot of people. If you've got AIDS, that's what the doctor told you. It didn't sink in my head for a while. I carried on cooking and didn't really sink in my head. You know, I don't get sick, I've never been sick. But after a while, I thought about it. And he said the doctor wants to see us all tomorrow, the whole family. So the next day we went to all get tested. By this time I was aware of this, you know, you're gonna die and things that's gonna happen to us. I have never lost my family because I grew up in war. But this time, this particular time, it felt like war was now here. Everything had followed me to a wonderful place. I was going to die and leave my children. I had been in a classroom for less than a year, trying to achieve something. And I was looking at my two beautiful children, they're not going to have money. And the whole Gisborne became a very dark place. I was very charming if I knew me, but I started being somebody else. I wasn't friendly anymore. I don't go to people's houses anymore. A few weeks after, we had to go and meet the authorities at Auckland Hospital. Gisborne Hospital, to discuss the pregnancy, because I was 6 months pregnant. Everybody came. There was a wonderful woman which I recently met who came to see me, was my first contact with the people who help people with AIDS. But because I didn't know about AIDS, I was just told this woman knows about AIDS and is coming from Auckland. This was going to happen to you. But in New Zealand at that time, they didn't terminate 6 months old babies. Pregnant. So they were going to send me in Australia within that week. But we were not sure about that. We decided we were going to go to England because my husband grew up in England and he had the baby there, and there was better medication, maybe understanding of this disease. And we were told that if she goes, she can't come back into the country. That means if she goes, she takes all the whole family have to leave. That became a little bit difficult because we had moved in the country, we had used all our resources, we had no money. So we looked at each other, did we say anything? In other words, we took the advice that we were given, and it was going to be happening so fast because they didn't want me to get in by night since I was already nearly due. So I went to Sydney by myself with my children to a clinic in Sydney called Points, where there were a lot of women that looked at me, but this clinic only get rid of babies. But I was a real big mama when I was there, and all these girls were looking at me, and I felt really really strange. At that time, I didn't think anything. I don't know how people feel when they are losing their baby. I was numb. I had 2 weeks of thinking about this thing, but I was really numb. So I didn't want to connect with what was kicking my stomach. I just let that happen because that was going to happen to me. I stayed with 2 wonderful gay men. Never met gay men in my life. They picked me up from the airport, picked me up from the doctors, served me food, put me somewhere to sleep. The next morning, they took me shopping. So these 2 gay people, I never heard of gay. Gay means happy where I come from. So now there's gay people and the husband and wife, but they were so wonderful. And I think because I was so traumatized in the last 3 weeks before I met these gay people, they are the only people in my head that seems to care about humans. Because everybody seems to just didn't want to touch me. The reason I was in Australia, because all the doctors in New Zealand were not going to touch me, even the midwife. So these guys let me sit on their chair and take me to the doctors, take me shopping, back again to the airport and send me back to Gisborne, where the last memory I had. When I get back to Gisborne, all what we had to do is move and go and find a better place for medication, where we can get medications. Also, it was so small. We were worried people would find us who we were, because we had an idea what this was and who we were. We came to Auckland, and at this time I'd enrolled in teachers training college, and I went to school. We bought a house, and our children were going to beautiful schools. We'd always have this thing about our children being the best they can be, so we sent them to the best schools, private schools, and while I was at teachers training college in Auckland. During this time, I lived inside me. I talked to myself a lot. One thing I talked about during this time, I said I wasn't gonna die because what about these people are wrong. So I didn't change what I eat. I didn't change nothing, but that didn't really change what I was thinking. I was still an outcast. I felt like an alien moving around all these people. All the women were beautiful. Everybody was gonna live longer except me. So that alone was the person I talked to. I talked to someone who's going to die, just me. And I didn't make friends. I didn't look at people. I liked people, but I just didn't let them get too close. I didn't hang out in my children's school. I didn't say what I'm really thinking unless contributing to whenever someone is saying something, but not what I'm thinking. I said, oh yeah, I know that, yeah, I know that. So I wasn't part of the society. I felt really, really an outsider. In this world, this New Zealand country I'd come to becomes the worst place ever anybody can be. It was the darkest place. And in Auckland, I decided if I'm gonna be a teacher, who is gonna let me teach their children if they find out about AIDS? And something happened during the time I was going to Auckland University. I was driving back home one day, and there was this news that there's a black man is giving women AIDS. I shrieked, a black man. I thought I was the only one. I drove so fast to home and waited for the news, and there was news everywhere about this guy, and I just lost all my energy. Now when they find there's another black person, I didn't know what to do. It only took me about 3-4 months before I left my husband and my children because I had to protect them. If those people were going to find out about AIDS, they would do something to my children. So if I was separate from them, it would be only my crime. So I left. Maybe that was the saddest time of my life. But I did leave. I learned to be solo mom, the businesswoman. Make friends, wear a mask, look gorgeous, beautiful. Just learn from how Western people live. How are they perceived? big, they're not liked, so I lose weight. If you don't put makeup, you're not liked. Put on makeup. If you live in Mangere, nobody likes you. You live in Epsom. So I did all that, and it worked for me. And I saw my children grow up. There was time when Auckland became quite a coverage for me. More people coming in a beautiful place for me. And I was having a good time. I started drinking, smoking, going to places that I'd never been brought up to do, things like going to pubs. And one day I saw a machine that gives people money. So, wow, that's good. So I spent night after night with this machine. I became a gambler. I never known of a gambler. I never known of an addiction. You know, so I stopped drinking. I just sat with the machine. I used to make a lot of money. No, money I worked for. So I put the money in there. And the whole world seems to be just disappearing. All the trees that was covering me, it's like everybody's gonna see me soon. So I packed my bags and I'm going to live in Napier, very small place. The gambling didn't go away. My children are growing up, they don't know that mommy's got AIDS. I'm still dating, drinking, businesswoman, living like everybody else, but inside, there was so much worms. There was so much worms. Finally, in 2001, those worms just took over. I couldn't think, I couldn't feel. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Sometimes I wish the world had killed me, just take me or crush me, something. That's how I felt. I got really sick as a result. And I came to Auckland Hospital, moved back, came to Auckland Hospital. By this time, my daughter, who is the youngest, was 18. In hospital, I was basically, they talk about viral loads and your CD4 count and things like that. I didn't know about that, but basically mine was 9, next to 9. So 2 years in hospital, they said they can't do anything for me. You know, by this time I've lost my insides, because they thought I'd do cancer, I didn't have cancer, so they took the womb out and there's nothing, they didn't know what was wrong with me. And what they did was just left me to live. But I had beautiful, wonderful physicians. Everybody at the hospital took so much care of me. It looks like everybody didn't want me to die. I was actually ready. My children had grown to the age, I said, please, God, let them become 18. But the doctors wanted me to stay. They wanted me to leave the hospital. Everybody worked so hard, but they couldn't do anything. They said, you can go home now. So I decided to write a letter, a journal to my children, which was basically my book. Sophie's World, Journeys of the Lost Soul. Started by Sophie's Choice. Then I changed it too. As I write the book, I changed it because I wanted to tell my children how we get to New Zealand since they didn't have aunties, uncles, what killed mommy, because even in hospital I wasn't telling them. So I found that by writing this journal and I gave it to them, they don't have to be told by the doctors that your mom died of AIDS. Somehow, while I was writing the book, I met somebody that I'd always known he existed. I didn't believe in God, but he showed me exactly how I was supposed to write my book. I sat down and I wrote my book talking about who I am, where I was coming from, what happened. And all the other big mountains come out that I grew up knowing. Things that happened to me when I was little, I said, oh, really? I was supposed to suffer. I was supposed to suffer. So I'm going to share this book with everybody else, because every time I finished a sentence, I got better the next day. And the doctor said, that's strange. You look much better today. And another chapter, she's looking much better. And I realized everything that was in there is going, all the yucky things was going in the book. I was giving it back. And I had a chance to tell my children who I was, what was happening to me. It took me 4 years to stay in Auckland Hospital. During that time, I met her, and she was counseling me, I think. Most of the time I was doing a bit of complaining, but yeah, I met a lot of physicians in the hospital, and I didn't know what I was doing in my book, and I finished writing my book by 2006. Just because I finished writing my book and my children now know that I was HIV positive, I found that I need to talk about myself, not to my children, to the world. The worm was still in there. I was still feeling yuck. I was still feeling I'm not part of the society. So I had the courage to publish my book.